Hello, and welcome to Legal Growth Podcast, where we dive into the strategies, challenges, and success stories shaping the future of law firms. Hosted by Legal Growth Partners, I'm your host, Aaron Fulk, and together we will bring you in-depth conversations with top legal professionals, industry innovators, and firm leaders. Our goal is simple: to share practical insights, innovative strategies, and real-world advice to help your law firm scale, adapt, and thrive. Whether you're navigating growth challenges or looking to boost your business development, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. I am so excited. I know our guest personally. Welcome, Kim Benjamin. How are you, Kim?
I'm great, Aaron. Thank you for having me. It's a little cloudy here in Kansas City today. It's a rainy day.
It's been a little rainy, but you have a gorgeous view, so that makes up for it for sure. So let's just dive in. Can you give us a quick overview of how you chose law and the specialty of law you chose?
How I became a lawyer is funny because no one in my family had ever been to college. No one in my family, of course, had ever been to law school. So I didn't even know a lawyer. But I liked a TV show back in the day called LA Law. And my mom always told me I should be a lawyer because I like to argue. I'm the oldest. And so, okay, my major in college wasn't going to get me a job, or I wasn't, and I wasn't ready to quit school. I love education. So I went to law school because of LA Law, ironically. And then how I chose criminal defense was because I thought I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. I wanted to be on Wall Street and deal with money and contracts and things that sounded exciting. And I took a trial advocacy class at George Washington University Law School, and my professor had a one-on-one with me, and he sat me down and he said, "So what do you want to do? What kind of lawyer do you want to be?" And when I said tax attorney, corporate attorney, like Wall Street attorney, he said, "Oh, no, 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 you will hate your life. You need to be in the courtroom. You clearly have skill set of trial advocacy." And I should have known that. I was a speech communication that was one of my degrees. And so I said, okay, I left Washington, D.C. I left the government jobs that I was doing, the transactional work I was doing, and I came back home to Kansas City, took the bar here in Missouri, and right away became a public defender and got 6 years, almost 6 years of courtroom experience, over 60 jury trials in a 6-year period, and the rest is history. Then I opened my private practice in 2002.
And what kind of law do you practice at your private practice?
In private practice, we did a little bit of everything until about 2017, when I niched and said, I'm sticking with what I love and what I know and what I'm passionate about, which is criminal defense. We're known for DWI defense, which is a part of criminal defense, but it's a specialty. Most people who really know how to do DWI defense well will tell you it's harder than a murder case, because you got to know the science and you have to cross-examine police officers every day, all the time, about the same topic over and over. So it's essentially, when you become really good at it and you know the science and you know how to beat the breath test machine, you know how to beat the blood test machine, you know how to cross-examine the police officer about their DWI investigation. When you know those things really, really well, then you can become a DWI expert, so to speak. And most lawyers don't do that, but we do here at my law firm, and criminal defense. But we have speeding tickets to murder cases and everything in between.
And all the things in between. So every attorney seems to have that memorable first case. Can you share your funniest or most surprising story from early in your career?
I was a public defender, and I had some crazy cases. The thing is, most of your clients in criminal defense world, there are some who just made a mistake. They're at a bad point in their life, they made a mistake. But then there's a whole other category of people that unfortunately are suffering from mental illness and or substance abuse issues. And that particular category, when I was a public defender, I had a tremendous amount of clients with mental illness and substance abuse. And I remember I had this one guy who was making his own methamphetamine in a shed on a property. He was an addict, but he was making his own methamphetamine here in Missouri, down at the Lake of the Ozarks. And I remember we decided to waive jury because the facts weren't great, but there were some issues that we wanted to argue, and we thought the judge would be a good hearer of the facts. And there comes a point in time when the police officer has to talk about how he found this bucket of meth was being made in a bucket, okay? But there was another bucket because there was no running water and no sewage in this particular shed. And We laughed about that case in chambers. We laughed about it in court. There was nothing else you could do but laugh about the officer's reaction to how he found the other bucket.
Oh my goodness.
There's just
I
so
bet you
many
saw
like
crazy
that.
stuff.
And then we literally called that case the shit in the bucket case because that's what else do you call it?
Did you see crazier stuff as a public defender versus your private practice? Or is it about the same?
Probably because at any given moment in time, I had 100 or more cases when I was a public defender. And so you had a lot of wild stories where you're like, can you believe this happened? And the thing about criminal defense is that you kind of become immune to some things. Like people always say, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, I have had to or chosen to eat lunch with my colleagues while we're looking at autopsy photos back in the day when you had printed color photos in your discovery.
Oh,
And you get used to it because it is just, it is the nature of the beast,
yeah,
so to speak.
it is what it is. What has been your biggest growth success story so far?
Hmm. When I first went out in private practice, my goal was, of course, to make money and keep the business going and pay my bills. But sometimes I had clients where I could not necessarily, make money like I deserved in the case. And I would do what's called, I would take the case cheap or, you know, for no money almost, just for street cred. And so my biggest growth spurt after doing 60 jury trials as the public defender all across Missouri and then coming back to my hometown, no one really knew me. No one knew how good I could be in the courtroom in front of a jury. I had been to the Trial Lawyers College, which was the number one training ground for lawyers on trial skills in the courtroom for plaintiffs lawyers and criminal defense lawyers. And and now I'm on the faculty and have been since 2008, but I went young at the age of 30. And I came back to my hometown and I was taking these cases basically for no money or little, much less than I was worth. And the cases should have been charged. But I did it for what I would call street cred. I'm still a big believer in street cred. Sometimes you have a client and you're like, you can't afford this, but I'm going to go to jury trial and we're going to fight like hell to win what we think is right here because you deserve it and you can't afford it, but I need the street cred and you need this defense. And I had half a dozen cases or so. I had a shaken baby case where I got a not guilty in 30 minutes and the judge said it was the best criminal defense, courtroom experience he'd ever seen. I had amazing experts, which helped. And an amazing story and an innocent client. So when I'm passionate and I'm just fighting like hell for a client, even though it's high stress and high risk, it when you believe in your client, you believe in your case, that exudes from your pores. So much so that jurors would reach out to me afterwards. And one, some friended me on Facebook, some sent their children to me for defense of their own situations. And I had another gal who was charged with a felony child endangerment for her babysitter abandoning the child in the middle of the night while the mom was out doing the thing she should have done, which is have a babysitter for her son. But the babysitter abandoned the child, and they blamed the mother and charged her with a felony. And there were some facts that, for child endangerment, there were some facts that could have led a jury to say, a misdemeanor. And I fought like hell for that girl and got exactly what I thought, which was a misdemeanor. There were some facts. But nonetheless, I have those moments where I'm very proud of myself for taking on cases. I took on another case, a gal working at a daycare center where everyone was calling her a child abuser. And I saw it different. It was a mean girls situation where my client was extremely overweight and not liked by some mean girls at the daycare center. And so I fought for her and I had jurors crying. So there are those
Wow,
moments where you just feel like I'm on the right side of things. And all those were results that my clients asked for and got.
I love that. I love that. What do you think? This is interesting leading into this question. What do you think your biggest non-legal skill is that has really helped you as you've been practicing privately and you've grown your firm?
When I was really actively trying cases and practicing law, I would have said it's my ability to see the big picture. Because early in my career, I'd get caught in the weeds because that's what they teach you in law school is to analyze and use logic and attack minutia. And as I grew and got more training, I started seeing the big picture and I could pick my battles much better. And I could talk to a jury about, I could role reverse with a juror and role reverse with the witness, which are skills I learned at the Trial Lawyers College, so that I could do a better direct examination, better cross examination, better opening, closing voir dire for this particular jury. I would say, for a practicing lawyer, that was my biggest skill set. That wasn't necessarily the law, but it was the ability to connect and pay attention and see everything from a higher view, so to speak. And then now that I am growing my business and mentoring and training and doing the things that grow my business, and I'm training a lot of other lawyers. Just in a couple of weeks, I have 4 lawyer presentations I'm doing at 3 different legal seminars in 2 days. 2 of them at the Lake of the Ozarks, one on Zoom for the UMKC Law School, and another one for the Kansas City Metropolitan Bar Association on Zoom. Um, so that's how I'm able to make it happen. It's not all in person. But now I think that my biggest skill set is my curiosity and my ideas and ability to think outside the box. Once I joined a business coaching company in 2017 and saw a whole new way to run a business. And then now that AI's out and I'm just like digging in with using Claude every day to learn how to run my business. And even though I'm not tech savvy, I'm certainly not an IT person. I'm curious and I want to learn, and hiring the right people to do the things that I don't know how to do.
I love that. Well, you keep leading us to the next question. You're doing such an amazing job. So I was going to ask you, looking ahead, what trends or changes do you see shaping the future of law firms, and how are you positioning your firm? So you kind of gave us, I think, a little bit of a peek there, but I'll let you answer it.
Yes. I'm doing something that no other law firm is doing in Missouri that I'm aware of, and certainly in the Kansas City area, which is building a law firm. My vision is to build the biggest and best criminal defense law firm in Missouri. We're going to open in St. Louis. We're expanding into Kansas because we have a lawyer on the team who's a Kansas lawyer, and 2 more or 3 more, counting me, working on getting their Kansas license. So we're expanding and we're growing. And AI within the last 6 months for me, probably 12 months for the rest of the world, has exploded and become, I can literally ask Claude to do things that used to take people man hours. I can create dashboards, I can pull metrics, I can, and it's all automated. Uh, I have a CRM, I have a case management system. Most law firms don't have all of that. I just talked to a lawyer yesterday who's a very well respected lawyer at a very well respected law firm in Kansas. And he said, "Oh, we write down our time on pen and paper and give it to a person to add to the system and build the clients, maybe a 2 weeks after the work's been done." I'm like, what the heck? No,
That's wild.
there is a better way, but I'm just, I'm very much into tech. We have a massive tech stack. I just hired an IT team to help us simplify our tech stack so that we're more mainstream. Because right now, like, for example, we have Google Drive, the Google universe, but we also have Microsoft and the Microsoft universe, and we need to pick one, and they're going to help us uh, mainline everything down uh, Microsoft because they think that's the better platform. So it's just stuff like that using technology, using AI, anything that can be automated, not to lose jobs, but actually to help people be more efficient and move faster and make better decisions, because it's not just a matter of producing a report for you. AI can interpret it for you. Where I used to have to hire people like a CFO to interpret spreadsheets, now I can ask Claude to interpret it for me and get very good results to help me make decisions, for example.
Yeah, I don't think it's always necessarily losing jobs. I went to a thing at the Casey Tech Council where they said it's just shifting jobs, right? So if you have more clients on, you can have more account managers to manage like the relationships and stuff like that, where maybe you
Right.
had more bodies in the back, and that way you can really focus on your clients and stuff. So
Exactly.
yeah. Amazing. Well, this is so exciting. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for joining the Legal Growth Podcast presented by Legal Growth Partners. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, drop us a review, share it with your colleagues because great insights are even better when shared. For more tips and tools to help grow your practice, visit legalgrowthpartners.com. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep smiling. Thank you so much for coming on, Kim.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I will see you when you're back in Kansas City.
Absolutely. Okay.